Let me start by telling you something powerful. The moment you realize your worth, everything in your life begins to shift. The moment you stop settling for less than you deserve, you step into a life of freedom, peace, and true abundance. Walking away is not weakness, it's strength. Too many people in life confuse endurance with wisdom. They think that staying in a painful situation proves loyalty, that tolerating mistreatment shows love, that clinging to what is crumbling somehow demonstrates faith. But the truth is, there is nothing noble about destroying yourself just to keep something else alive. Strength is not about holding on when everything inside of you is breaking down. Strength is about standing up, looking around, and realizing that you are worth more than what you've been accepting. There is a false idea that walking away means you've given up, but in reality, it often means you've finally grown up. It means you've recognized that your value is not tied to the approval of others or the comfort of the familiar. When you walk away, you're not abandoning yourself. You're abandoning the version of life that no longer honors who you are becoming. That takes more courage than staying stuck in a place that is slowly draining the life out of you. Think about this. A tree must shed its leaves every season to remain alive and continue to grow. If the tree stubbornly held onto every leaf out of fear of being bare, it would eventually wither. You are no different. Walking away is your way of shedding what no longer serves you so that you can make room for new life, new growth, and new opportunities. It is not a sign of failure. It is a declaration of faith in your future. The strongest people in this world are not the ones who never cry or never feel pain. The strongest people are those who feel the pain, acknowledge it, and still choose to move forward. Walking away requires you to face the storm within yourself, the doubts, the fears, the loneliness, and decide that temporary discomfort is worth more than a lifetime of settling. That is strength at its highest level. It's easy to stay where you are. It takes almost no effort to keep repeating the same patterns and calling it normal. But it takes extraordinary courage to admit that normal is not good enough anymore. It takes bravery to look at a relationship, a job, or a lifestyle and say, this does not reflect the love I have for myself. That decision is not weakness. It is strength clothed in wisdom. You cannot pretend to love yourself while continually staying in situations that break you down. Self-love is not just about affirmations and nice words, it is about action. Walking away is one of the loudest, clearest actions you can take to show that you value your worth. It says, I may care for you, I may respect you, but I care for myself enough not to stay where I am diminished. That's not quitting, that's elevating. Sometimes strength looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like distance. Sometimes it looks like not explaining yourself to everyone who questions your choices. Because walking away is not for them to understand, it is for you to embody. The world may label you selfish, but your spirit knows you are simply protecting your peace. That is the strength that builds unshakable foundations. The truth is, walking away requires a vision bigger than your pain. It requires you to believe that even if you feel empty now, something greater is ahead. Weakness clings because it fears there will never be more. Strength releases because it knows there will always be better. The mindset of strength says, if I can survive here, I can thrive somewhere else. That belief alone can change your entire life. Strength does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers, I can't stay here any longer. Sometimes it looks like tears on your pillow at night. Sometimes it feels like your heart is shattering into pieces. But that breaking is proof of your strength. It means you were brave enough to choose healing over harm, growth over stagnation, love over fear. Every great breakthrough is preceded by a decision that looks impossible. Walking away is one of those decisions. It's the moment where strength speaks louder than fear. It's the point where you stop letting your circumstances define your value and start letting your value redefine your circumstances. That is not weakness. That is power. That is faith. That is love in its truest form. Healing begins where breaking ends. There is a process that life takes us through, and sometimes that process looks like being shattered into pieces. When you decide to walk away from something that was once familiar but has now become toxic, the first feeling is often devastation. The comfort of routine is gone, the security of the known is stripped away, and what remains feels like emptiness. But in that emptiness is the soil where healing begins to take root. What feels like loss is often preparation for gain, and what feels like breaking is the very doorway into restoration. When you are broken, it can feel as if you've lost yourself. The tears, the silence, the questioning, all of it weighs heavily on your heart. But in that state of brokenness, you are forced to slow down, to reflect, to confront the truth you once ignored. Healing rarely comes in comfort. It comes in the breaking, because only then are you willing to change. Pain awakens awareness, and awareness is the seed of transformation. You cannot heal if you refuse to acknowledge that you are hurting. Many try to cover their wounds with business, distractions, or the illusion of strength. But true healing only comes when you allow yourself to face the pain without running from it. Breaking is painful, but it exposes the areas that need to be rebuilt. Healing then is not about returning to what was, but about creating what will be. Every scar tells a story of where breaking occurred, but also of where healing triumphed. You may feel like your world is collapsing, but sometimes things must fall apart so that the false can be removed and the true can remain. Healing begins the moment you understand that the breaking was not the end. It was the necessary beginning. It is not punishment. It is preparation. It is not rejection. It is redirection. There is a certain beauty in brokenness that cannot be seen in strength alone. When you are broken, you become teachable. You become open to wisdom, to new perspectives, to new ways of living. Healing uses the very pain that broke you as the foundation for your growth. What once wounded you becomes the reason you stand taller, stronger and wiser than before. The wound becomes the womb where your future is born. Healing is often uncomfortable because it requires patience. The breaking happens quickly, sometimes in a single decision, sometimes in a single day, but the healing unfolds over time, and that time tests you. You will be tempted to return to what broke you, to settle for the familiar pain instead of enduring the unknown. But the strength of healing is forged in your ability to keep moving forward, even when the past calls your name. You will notice that healing doesn't mean you forget what broke you. Instead, it means the memory no longer controls you. The pain may still exist, but it loses its power. Healing allows you to look at what once shattered you and smile, not because it didn't hurt, but because it no longer defines you. Breaking created the wound, but healing gave you the freedom to live again. There are people who try to skip the breaking, hoping to heal without ever letting go. But healing without breaking is like trying to rebuild a house without first clearing away the rubble. It will not stand. You must allow the old to be torn down so that the new can be built properly. That's why walking away feels so devastating at first. It clears away what cannot remain so that what is truly meant for you can arrive. Healing also changes the way you love yourself. Once you've gone through breaking and healing, You no longer tolerate what once diminished you. You learn to set boundaries to protect your peace, to honor your worth. Healing makes you more compassionate, but also more discerning. You no longer confuse sacrifice with self-betrayal. You no longer see staying in pain as proof of strength. Healing transforms your perspective so deeply that the breaking becomes the very reason you rise. The most powerful truth about healing is that it often comes disguised as breaking. You will not always recognize it while you are in it. You will feel like everything is falling apart when in reality, everything is being rebuilt. Breaking exposes, but healing restores. Breaking shatters, but healing strengthens. Breaking ends what was, but healing begins what will be. Your environment shapes your destiny. The people you surround yourself with, the conversations you engage in, the places you spend your time, and the habits you repeat daily are silently crafting the direction of your life. You cannot expect to grow in a space that constantly belittles your potential, and you cannot expect to rise when the atmosphere around you keeps pulling you down. The truth is, your destiny is too great to be confined by environments that don't align with who you are meant to become. When you stay in circles that don't value you, you eventually begin to undervalue yourself. You start to believe that mediocrity is normal, that playing small is safe, and that shrinking your light is necessary to fit in. But your destiny cannot thrive in an environment that requires you to dim your brilliance. You were not created to be hidden. You were created to shine. The moment you choose to walk away from toxic environments, you reclaim the freedom to step into the fullness of your purpose. Every environment carries an energy. Some environments breathe life into you, ignite your vision, and fuel your passion. Others drain your spirit, kill your creativity, and crush your confidence. It is not just about who you are, but about where you are. A seed can hold incredible potential, but if it is planted in the wrong soil, it will never grow. You are that seed, and your environment is your soil. If you want your destiny to flourish, you must plant yourself in the right place. There is a reason why successful people are intentional about who they spend time with. They understand that energy is contagious. If you walk with dreamers, you start to dream bigger. If you surround yourself with builders, you learn to build. If you remain with complainers, you will find yourself complaining more than creating. Destiny is not shaped in isolation. It is shaped in the environments you choose to allow around you. Sometimes the environment that holds you back is not external, but internal. It's the environment of your own thoughts, the negativity you allow to live in your mind, the doubt you feed, and the fears you rehearse. If your internal environment is toxic, it will sabotage every opportunity before it even begins. Shifting your destiny requires shifting your mindset, creating an inner environment of faith, clarity, and expectation of growth. Destiny does not respond to convenience. It responds to alignment. You cannot align with greatness while entertaining environments of smallness. You cannot walk in abundance while surrounding yourself with lack-minded people who resist growth. Your environment is either a ladder or a cage. It will either elevate you toward your vision or trap you in a cycle of repeating the same story over and over again. You must be willing to walk away from any environment that threatens your peace, poisons your vision, or hinders your progress. It will not always be easy. It may mean leaving people behind who once mattered. It may mean stepping away from places that once felt safe. It may even mean changing patterns you have carried for years. But protecting your destiny requires making choices that sometimes break your comfort zone. Think of your environment as the atmosphere of your future. If the air is polluted, your dreams will suffocate. But if the air is clean and filled with inspiration, you will breathe more freely and create with greater clarity. That is why it is so important to protect the spaces you enter and the voices you allow to influence you. Every environment is shaping you, even in ways you don't immediately see. Many people wonder why they feel stuck year after year, but they never examine the environments they keep returning to. They pray for change, but remain in spaces that resist transformation. They hope for growth, but surround themselves with people who fear progress. Change cannot happen without a shift in environment, because where you dwell determines what you develop. The reality is, your destiny is not just about what you do, it is about where you are planted. If the environment feeds your purpose, you will grow into everything you were created to be. If the environment fights your purpose, you will constantly battle to survive. Your destiny depends on your willingness to choose spaces that nurture your vision and relationships that push you higher. Your environment is not neutral, it is shaping your future every single day. Letting go creates space for greater. Many times, we hold on tightly to people, habits, and situations because they feel familiar even when they no longer serve us. We cling to the comfort of what we know, fearing the emptiness that might come if we release it. But what we don't realize is that our hands cannot receive new blessings if they are still full of what was meant to be temporary. The act of letting go is not just about ending something. It's about preparing yourself for something better that cannot arrive until the old has been released. When you let go, you create room for clarity. As long as you remain tied to what no longer belongs in your life, your vision will always be clouded. You can't see where you're going because your eyes are fixed on what you refuse to leave behind. But the moment you release it, the fog lifts and the path ahead becomes visible. Letting go does not always mean understanding everything at once. Sometimes it simply means trusting that clarity will come when you make space for it. Letting go also teaches you that your worth is not attached to what you lost. Many people hold on because they believe their value is tied to a relationship, a title, or an achievement. But when those things fade, they feel empty and incomplete. The truth is, your worth remains intact whether people leave, whether opportunities close, or whether seasons change. Letting go proves to yourself that you are not defined by what you release, you are defined by what you choose to become after. There is power in empty space. At first, it feels painful, even unbearable, to sit with the emptiness that follows letting go. But that empty space is sacred. It is the place where healing begins, where peace can enter, and where new opportunities can be birthed. If you rush to fill the void with something else just to avoid loneliness, you cheat yourself out of the growth that comes from stillness. Letting go requires patience with the emptiness, knowing that it is only temporary. When you let go, you are not just losing, you are upgrading. You may not see it immediately, but what is ahead of you is always greater than what is behind you. The friendships you release may be replaced with deeper, healthier connections. The opportunities you lose may be replaced with doors that lead to far more than you ever imagined. The habits you leave behind may be replaced with discipline and freedom that elevate your entire life. What you give up makes room for what will grow you. It's important to remember that letting go is not betrayal of your past. It is alignment with your future. You can honor what was without chaining yourself to it. Gratitude for the lessons does not mean you must stay in the same place. Letting go says, I appreciate where I have been, but I know I cannot remain here if I want to reach my destiny. That is not disloyalty. That is wisdom. Letting go often feels like a loss of control, but in reality, it is an act of faith. It is choosing to believe that God, the universe, or destiny has something greater prepared for you than what you are leaving behind. It is refusing to let fear dictate your steps. Fear says, if I let this go, I'll have nothing. Faith says, if I let this go, I'll finally have room for what is truly mine. The more you let go, the lighter you become. Carrying the weight of old pain, old relationships, and old versions of yourself slows you down and keeps you bound. But when you release it, you find yourself moving with more energy, more clarity, and more freedom. The heaviness you thought was normal suddenly lifts, and you realize you were never